And then move this out of the way. Present. And let me move this out of the way. All right, are you guys seeing the GeoQuick on your screens? Okay, so you might want to go down to the bottom of your screen and maximize the image so that you can see everything clearly. Okay, pick on the three dots and go to full screen or something like that. Okay, so this was, of course, the first project that you were assigned, and so the concept I want to talk about this morning is the concept of model space versus what we call paper space. So if you look in the lower left-hand corner, you can see the word model, and this is called the model tab. And in model space, you have this infinite area that you can draw in. Okay, so let's see let me check the text and see if things going on. Okay, good. So anyway, like I said, in model space, you have this infinite area that you can draw in. So you're always wanting to make your drawings in model space, but at some point in the development of AutoCAD, Autodesk realized they needed to separate the world where you drew from the world where things like borders and title blocks were. So they created something called paper space, and we have a tab right down here, right next to the model space. And you can name that whatever you want it to be. Normally it's called Layout 1. The first one is called Layout 1. And if I click on that, that takes us into paper space. And as I was saying, paper space is the world where borders and title blocks live, and you print from paper space. And the way you know you're in paper space, there's two things we'll tell you about it. First off, you'll usually see this white rectangle that represents your sheet. Secondly, right here on your status bar, you'll see the word paper. And then over here on the left-hand side in the lower corner, instead of seeing the normal UCS, you see this triangle that says X and Y. Okay, so those are some hints that you are not in model space anymore. So if I click on model space, first off, usually we see the UCS. I don't know where my UCS went. But you know, that little icon that we have down here, you usually see that. And then also you'll see this word right here that says model. Okay, so when you're ready to print, you want to click over here and get into paper space. The title block is in paper space. So if you need to edit this text, you want to go in there and double click right on the text. And then you can edit the text. But in the video that I made, I warned you guys that if you go in there to double click on some text and you're slightly off the text, but you're in the white space and you double click, if you look right down here, double clicking in that white space will put you into model space, except it's a little weird. It's model space. You can draw and everything, but you're looking through paper space to see it. And when model is active, when this guy right down here says model, if you try to edit that text, you can't touch that text because it's in paper space and you are in model space. So you can do things to change your model, right? But you can't change the text that's in paper space. So what you have to do when you realize you can't change this is to go down here where it says model and pick on model and turn it back into paper space, and then you can go in and you can select this text again. So just be careful when you're picking that you're not just off the text a little bit and double clicking right there. That will throw you into model space. Okay. Now another way, I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Another way that you can get into paper space is out here in the gray area. If you just double click out there, that will also put you into paper space if you're in model space. So I'm going to double click in the white space. which puts me into model space, right? So now I can reach through and I can edit that guy. But if I come out here into the gray and I double click out here in the gray, you can see that it changed to paper space, and you can see that icon right down there. So this is a little confusing at first for beginners, but just remember that paper space is where we generally print from. And so things like title blocks, borders, parts list, things like that you want to have in paper space. And your model, of course, you want to draw that in model space. All right, so I'm going to click on the guest cottage project. And the guest cottage gave you an opportunity to use a whole bunch of commands, including the text command and everything else. Now I'm in paper space, and right now, I can't pick on the word bath, for example, because I'm in paper space. But if I go into the white and I double click, now I could edit that right there. So you can edit model space while you are on this layout tab, but it's usually better to just pick on the model space tab and go in here and make your edits inside model space. All right. One of the things that happened with several of you guys, so I want to point something out to you, is that when you printed, I had one guy that printed and his windows did not show up and his hatch pattern did not show up. And so you're always going to print from layout. So I'm going to pick on layout over here and I'm going to pick on the printer. And so this guy comes up and you set up your print, and so you always want to choose Adobe PDF. If you don't have Adobe PDF, you can choose AutoCAD PDF. You'll have to install this driver if you don't have it. So if you haven't watched that video, I talk a little bit about that. I have Adobe Acrobat installed, and so that brings that driver in. So it just becomes one of my drivers available through Windows. What you're going to plot then is going to be the layout. And so the layout is already set up. It's in the white paper there. Your scale will already be set up to match your layout. And then the other thing we want to make sure, a lot of times the first time you open this, you have to pick on this out arrow right here. And we want to make sure that we print our projects monochrome, which makes them black and white when they print. Okay. Now, I can't preview this until I select a printer. So if I choose the Adobe PDF, and then I'm going to preview and see what I have. And so it's always good to just do a preview before you print and make sure that you're going to see the entire border and everything else. But I want to show you, like I said, I had somebody print one and the hatch pattern and the windows didn't show up. So I'm going to cancel out of this print job, and I'll show you what happened in that case. Let me go back to model space here. If you go up here to your layer properties manager and you click on that, let's see if I can drag this over. Sometimes, oh my gosh, it's not going to let me drag it over. Sometimes for some reason this one dialog box doesn't want to drag over, but when you click on that, what you're going to see is in about the 5th column over, you're going to see an icon that looks like a printer. And if that icon has a slash mark across the printer, then that layer is not going to print. And that's what happened with the guy when the guy tried to print this project right here, and his windows didn't print and his hatch didn't print. That's because his hatch layer and his window layer in his layer properties manager, the icon had been clicked on for whatever reason, and so he had turned off those layers for printing. So I want to just warn you about that. If you see something that's not printing, it's usually a layering problem. More than likely you've got your layers turned off. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go back to the layout over here, and whenever we want to be able to see things in model space, let me show you what we do. We actually have to draw something called a viewport. So we make a layer called viewport, and I'm going to turn that layer off, and let's see if that does any good to turn this off. No, I'm not seeing any difference in that. Let me see if I can. So I think our viewport layer may be locked. There we go. Let's see if we can turn that off now. Point is this, that you see how I'm scrolling in and out? What I have to do is create a viewport that allows me to see the things that are back there in model space. And the command is actually called Vports. So I'm just going to type Vports and press enter. And I'm going to choose a single viewport and pick OK. And I'm going to add a viewport to my drawing here. So I'm just going to draw a rectangle in that corner right there. And then press escape. And you can see that I have a window within a window here. So whenever you get into a layout, whenever you click on the Layout tab, in order to see model space, you have to have a viewport. So like I just showed you, you can type Vports, you have to put an S on the end of it, and place a viewport in there. And the thing about a viewport is this: when you pick on it and you look right down here, you can actually scale your viewport. So you could say, I want that to be 1:1, I want it to be 1:2, 1:4, for example. So you can see that at 1:4, it's still too big to fit inside this viewport right here. And so what we had done is we had come in here and we had already set, you see that blue box right there, that's the viewport. We had already set the viewport on this thing. I think we had it at 1/4 inch equals 1 foot. Let's see what that does. Yeah. So let me erase this out right here. So here we go. Let me escape. So the viewport that we have for this particular drawing that we have right here is actually set to 1/4 inch equals 1 foot. Okay, so that was something that you guys didn't have to set up, but we're going to talk more about that. If we didn't have that viewport on there, you wouldn't even be able to see what's back in model space. So we'll get more into that, but I just want to point out that we control all of our scaling and everything of what we're seeing in paper space here by the scale that we set our viewport to. All right. So those are things that are going to be kind of already set up for you in most of these prototype drawings, but we will get more into those. So there's model space, and then here's paper space. You would want to print this from paper space, and you would want your scale to be 1/4 inch equals 1 foot. Okay. All right, so let's talk about the new projects that are coming up. You click on this right here and project this. I'm going to skip through some of this stuff. Apologize. Okay, of course, so this is what you did for today. All right, so where this project ends, this is on page 235, if you want to look in the book. Okay, everybody's there, hopefully. So on page 235, it gives you the directions. It says to download the Imperial prototype drawing file. Now, that's what we did before when we drew the GeoQuick, right? So you're going to do that again, and you don't have to download it. You can open it from Blackboard, just like you did before. You'll do a file save as, like it says in step number 2 right here. You'll do the save as. In fact, let me get a pointer. Okay, right there. Step number 2, you're going to do a save as, and you're going to name this file bracket. Now, I would put your name on it as well, you know, because so that way when you send it to me, it's already named. But if you don't, if you just name it bracket, that's okay. But when you make your PDF, put your name into the file. So it would be bracket -smith.dwg or something like that. Then it says in step 3 to activate the model tab. And of course, that's just that tab in the lower left. It's probably going to be activated already, but we want to draw this in model space. And then you're going to pick on your format tool and go down to units and set your units to decimal and the precision to 3 decimal places right there. And then you're going to pick on format again and go to text style and make sure that your font is set to Arial. And then you're going to create the following layers right here, these layers. So you're going to make a visible layer, hidden, center, and text. You can use the colors that are shown here. And these are the line types that you'll need. And in the setup for this, there's videos that will help you do all this. And I'm going to make one change on this. Under where it says visible line, instead of 0.6, 0.6 is the standard, but it's a little thick for such a small drawing. So I'm going to recommend that you set that to 0.5 millimeters. So we'll just set just the visible layer a little bit thinner. The other layers, we're going to keep at default line thickness. And default, if you remember, I think I told you guys, is let me see here. It's 0.28. I think it's 0.28 millimeters, but you don't have to do anything. Just let that be default right there. Okay. Now, then you're going to draw the front, the top, and the right side views of the bracket. And so we want the front view to come from here. That's going to be your front view right there. This will be your right side view over here. And of course your top view is going to come from looking straight down on the front view. Right here, it tells you to adjust your line type scale. And here's what line type scale does. If you draw a center line and you don't see any breaks in it, it's probably because your line type scale, there's something wrong with your scaling of your line type scale. So by changing your line type scale, you could make that center line look like that, like the way it's supposed to. What line type scale does is it controls the size of like these gaps right here, and it controls the lengths of dash lines. So keep that in mind. In the module 1 of chapter 4, there's a video on line type scale. It's very short, but it's one of those things that if you don't see a center line when you're drawing this, but you know it's on the center layer and that the center layer has a center line type assigned to it and you can't see a dash, it's probably your line type scale. And the way you adjust line type scale is you type LTS and then you press enter. And this is the symbol I usually use when I'm on the board for enter. So LTS and enter. And then see what the scale says. There will be in brackets, it will tell you what the scale is. And let's say the bracket says, let me get my mouse over here. Let's say it says 1 is the scale for your LTS. What I would recommend trying is 0.75 and then press enter. And if that doesn't make your center line look like this, try something smaller. Try like 0.625 and just keep trying some different scales and try making your scale smaller and see if that will make that visible. Okay. Now, the thing with the line type scale is that it's a global scale or a global command. And so what it does is, let me sketch up here. When it makes your center line smaller, when it makes this area in here larger or smaller, it also will scale the lengths of your hidden lines. So you have to be aware that this is like a global thing. It's going to affect all your non-continuous lines when you mess with the LTS, with your line type scale. Okay, so let me just show you what this is going to look like. Your front view, top view, right side view, and you can see there's a box right here. And that box is built into the prototype, and it's on a layer called the miter box layer. So we want to turn the miter box layer on, and you want to start the construction of the front view in that corner right there, and you want to start the construction of the top view in that corner, and you want to start the right side views construction right over there. And that miter box, when it comes in, it already has that 45-degree line put in there for you. Okay, and so that's going to allow you to take like this point, for example, right here, and project it up and across to locate things. The videos are going to show you how to do that using AutoCAD. And so this is really important stuff you're going to learn in these assignments right here. You'll also be projecting, of course, from like your front view across to here. And then for your hidden lines, you'll be projecting from the quadrant here across to where those hidden lines are going to be, and the quadrant here across where the hidden lines will be. All right. So this week in total, we're going to do 4 drawings. We're going to do the bracket, which is on page 235. We're going to draw the shaft guide, which is on page 236. This guy right here. We're going to draw the front, top, and the right side view. This is on 237. This is called the tool holder. And then this is on page 238. And this is called the tool slide. And what you should try to have done by Wednesday would be these top 2. Okay? If you want to work ahead, you can, because we're going to take the entire week to do these 4 drawings right here. So on Wednesday's class, I'll be talking about this again. All right. Now, this slide that you're seeing right here is actually in Blackboard, and I recommend opening that and looking at it. So I'm going to show you that in just a second, where it's located in Blackboard, because it will help you visualize what your views are going to look like. So what I'm going to do is pick on AutoCAD again, and I'm going to click right here, and I'm going to show you what this drawing looks like. Okay. You are going to make a visible layer, a hidden layer, and a center layer, and a text layer. And so this line right there is going to be on your visible layer. For some reason, mine is named Viz, but it says in the book to name yours visible. Hidden lines are going to be on a hidden layer. Center lines are going to be on a center layer. Okay, all of mine are abbreviated, it looks like up here. But here's an important thing when you start this. I'm going to copy this over to the side. When you start this drawing, if the miter box's layer is turned off, let me make something else my current layer, and then go down here and actually I have to unlock that guy. Let's see what layer that's on. Miter box. Okay. Here we go. So when you start the drawing, if you don't see that miter box, just come in here and pick on this, come down to miter box and turn it on like that. And so you'll see this white box here, and that's where you'll be making your drawings at. Okay. So I need to copy that because I wanted to show you something about the miter box. So when you begin your front view and you look at that on page 235, there's several ways you can approach making that. One of those would be to use your rectangle command. You pick on rectangle and it says, where's the first corner? You can snap to the first corner of the miter box right there. And if you look at that, you can see there's a rectangle that is 6 inches wide and 0.75 tall. So you could type 6, 0.75 and press enter. And that would give you this rectangle right here. All right, just by doing that. Now, remember that it is still a rectangle. And so to make edits with it, you would probably want to come up here and choose the explode command and then break it into separate lines. But from there, you can start to draw your parts. Now, or the other parts of it. Now, I want to show you something about drawing these hidden lines. Let me see. It's kind of hard to see those hidden lines against this black screen. I'm going to change my hidden lines, the color of those, just for a second. Okay, so now you can see the hidden lines a little bit easier. So I'm going to erase this hidden line out here and this hidden line out right here. So let's say I want to add those hidden lines over here, and I already have these circles drawn right here in my front view. I would go up here and make hidden my current layer. All right. Then I would pick on the line command, and I would come right to that quadrant, and I would just park my mouse there. Would not pick, just park it there. And then as you move across, you're going to see a dotted line. And I would move all the way over to here, and when I get to the red line, I would pick for the first time, and I would come straight across, and when I get to that back edge, I would pick again and then press escape. So we're actually going to be able to project things. So I'll do that again. You pick on your line command, and again, I have hidden as my layer. I would go right there, but I won't pick. I just park there until it says like intersection, which means AutoCAD has acquired that intersection. And then I follow it across. Now I'm seeing that dotted line, and as I get over here, I would pick there and come here and pick. So it's going to be really easy to project information. You're going to love that. Same way, when you draw, once you get this front view drawn and you figured out where all of this stuff is, if you go up here and you make your visible layer current, and let me get rid of this stuff up here. So let's say you're trying to draw your top view. Well, just start your line command and come right here and just park your mouse, don't pick, follow straight up, and when you get right there, pick, and then go all the way to the back edge and pick, like that. Do the same thing over here, just park your mouse, follow it up, pick, and pick right there, and do the line command again, and this time go to that corner right there, and follow your dash line up and pick, like right there. And you'll do the same thing on the other side. So things are going to go pretty fast on this once you get the hang of that. And that's why this is so important that you learn how to do this. All right, so you'll do the same thing. Of course, you'll project these slots straight down. But how do you get the slots over here in the side view? Now, this is something that is really cool about AutoCAD that you can use. You pick on your line command, and what we want is an object snap called temporary tracking point. And you can actually get temporary tracking point by typing 2 T's. You just type TT. So first thing you do, you get in a line command, pick on line, and then type TT and press enter. And now it says specify the temporary tracking point. What I would do is I would go to the front of that stadium, and you're not going to pick, you're just going to park right there, okay? Then you're going to follow over to the miter line, and here's your first pick is going to be on the miter line. Then you're going to come straight down, and when you get to that line, you're going to pick, and then you're going to come straight down and pick again and press escape, all right? Now that should be a hidden line because it's the front edge of the stadium. So if ever you draw something on the wrong layer, just select it and go up here to your layer control and pick on the down arrow and go pick the layer you want it to be on, in this case hidden. Okay. And so that's how we can find that really easy. So I'm going to do another line. I'm going to type TT and press enter. And I'm going to go right up there. I'm just going to park. I'm not going to pick. I'm going to follow the polar tracking line over. I'm going to pick here. I'm going to come straight down on the dash line. I'm going to pick and pick. And so those are the edges of the stadium. Now, again, I drew that on the visible layer. Let me show you another way to change it. See this button right here that has the paintbrush, match properties. Pick on match properties, and it says select the source object. Pick a hidden line, in this case, and then go pick that line, and you can match the properties of it. Okay. Now, there's also going to be two center lines there, so I'm going to make center my current layer. And I'm going to use the temporary tracking point again. So I'm going to do the line command. I'm going to type TT, press enter. I'm going to go to the end of that line. I'm not going to pick, just going to park it there, follow across, and pick. Then I'm going to come straight down and pick here and pick there. Now, that's a center line, but it's too short to show any dashes. So what I want to do is I'm going to pick on it, and then I'm going to pick with the left button of my mouse, and I'm going to hold that button down, and I'm just going to drag that straight up, and then let go of my mouse and type 0.25 and press enter. So I just extended that center line out 0.25. I'm going to pick right here and go straight down. I'm going to type 0.25 again and press enter. You see, I'm not seeing a dash in there. So like I said before, when I don't see that dash, it makes me think I need to change my line type scale. So I'm going to type LTS and press enter. And so it tells me that my current line type scale is 1. I'm going to try 0.75. Type in 0.75 and press enter. So you can see it's definitely changed my hidden lines. They got a little bit smaller, but it still wasn't enough to show the line type scale for the center line. So I'm going to type LTS again, and actually all you have to do in AutoCAD to get back the last command is press enter. I didn't have to type LTS, I could have just entered. This time I'm going to try something a little bit smaller. I'm going to try 0.625 and press enter. And you see that was small enough that it's showing me the dashes in there. So that's how you're going to be drawing this project. Now, there are videos for this entire thing, and you should definitely watch the videos. All right, so let's go look at what's available in Blackboard. When you log into Blackboard, the first thing you're going to see now are the due dates. This is what I have set up. And so today, of course, what was due were projects 4.1 through 4.3. Now, they weren't actually due. You just needed to have them drawn. In a couple of weeks, we're going to open up 4.3, and we're going to put dimensions on it. That's the guest cottage. The new assignment, though, is 4.4 through 4.7, and you're going to use these draw these using AutoCAD before next Monday, the 21st. Okay, so 4 projects before then. To draw those, go over here on the left-hand side to the navigation and pick Chapter 4, Module 3. And that should change to this. And it tells you what you have to draw. And then there are 4 assignment folders. Okay. The first one is the project on page 235. Pick on that. Here's your prototype drawing. Is right there. Oh, I'm sorry. Here's your prototype drawing, the Imperial prototype. This is just a PDF of what's in the textbook. This is your prototype drawing. You're going to pick on that and open it with AutoCAD and do a file save as and save it in your folder that you made, the daily work folder. If you did what I suggested, you would actually save this in your daily work folder. Now, I said that there's a great help sheet, and it's in step 3. It's the Chapter 4 miter box help sheet. So I'm going to click on that, which in my case, it downloads it. So I click on my downloads and open it up and drag it over so you guys can see it. This is what the first sheet of that help sheet looks like. So you can see what the bracket is going to look like, and it gives you some information. It also shows you how to use the temporary track point, the thing I just showed you where you type TT. And if you follow this in order, so you pick on the line command, and if you have the object snap toolbar on, you pick on temporary track point. If you don't, just type TT and press enter. And then go to step number 3. And in this case, what we're doing, we acquire this point, And then we go up to here and we pick and we come across and we pick and we pick. So you can go in this direction or you can go up and across. You can go in either direction with temporary track point. And the third page of that help sheet is the one that shows you all the views of the 4 projects. Okay, so as I was saying, I'm going to close this down. See if I can close this guy. So that help sheet is in that first folder, and it's right here, Chapter 4 Miter Box Help Sheet PDF. Now, after that, we have 4 videos to help you draw the bracket. And the first one helps you get it set up. And then I think the second video, I don't remember exactly how they go, but I think the second video shows you how to draw the front view. And the third video shows you the top view, and the fourth video shows you the right side view. And when you get into these videos, we're going to show you again how to use temporary track point and things like that. And we're going to show you ways, kind of shortcuts to draw this stuff that will help you, see AutoCAD in a little more sophisticated way. So when you finish that one, then you want to come and pick on assignment number 2. And it's the same thing. It has a prototype drawing, but I want you to look at the prototype. It doesn't say Imperial prototype. The Imperial prototype is in inches. The metric prototype is in millimeters because the shaft guide is drawn in millimeters. So if you look on page 236, and you look at that assignment, let me click on this again, get right here. Look at the numbers for the dimensions over here. And you see how much larger those numbers are? Instead of 6, now it's 101. All right. So when you think of 101 inches, you would be looking at like 9 feet. Okay, that would be a pretty big part. All right. So when you see a number like 101.6, that's kind of a clue that it might be in millimeters. And so when that's in millimeters, that's only, like this wide instead of 10 feet or 9 feet wide. So this is all in millimeters. And that's why you need to use the metric prototype. And then you're going to do a save as, and you're going to name it shaft guide. And you're going to make sure your units are at decimal and your precision is 0.000, and you're going to set it to Arial. You're going to make those layers, and then you're going to draw the front, the top, and the right side view. But just remember, it's all in millimeters. Now, here's how that's going to affect what you're doing, though. Let me get out of this guy if I can. Let me just go to AutoCAD. The thing that's a little bit different about this is when you extend your center line out and you go up like that, if you only extend it 0.25, you're going to extend it 0.25 millimeters, and that's a very tiny amount. What we have to do when we're in a metric drawing is we want to extend that 6 millimeters. So you're going to type 6 and press enter, and you're going to extend that up 6 units. Same way here, when you extend this center line down, you pick on it and hold down with your mouse and drag it straight down, then let go of the pick button and type 6 and press enter. And that will extend that 6 millimeters. So when we're working in inches in the Imperial, we're going 0.25. When we're working in the metric system, we're going 6 millimeters. So this entire drawing is done in millimeters. So when you add these notes in right here to this guy, those notes are actually going to be drawn. If you look right up here, the height of those notes is 3. That's because it's 3 millimeters, not 3 inches. That would be way too big if that were inches, but in millimeters, that's not too big right there. Okay. So that's your second project is right there. Now, this is one you have to watch out for, because you see this visible line right here? You see how it extends out a little bit, but it doesn't go all the way across, and then there's a hidden line in there? That's because when you draw this line right here, you're going to draw it from this corner tangent to that guy right there. So that's a run out. And so what you have to do is you have to go find the tangency where that end point of that line hits, and then you're going to have to project that up and find how far to extend this guy out. So it's going to go beyond the edge of the cylinder up there, because, let me pick on this, you can see it pretty easy over here. You see this goes up. It doesn't stop right on that quadrant. It actually goes beyond the quadrant because it's going to a tangency. It's a run out. So be careful of that when you're drawing this guy. All right. Okay, so the other two assignments, let's see, this guy, and then this, that's what that one will look like when it's done, and then this guy here, and there's videos for all of these. Okay, so what I would try to do is get the first two done before Wednesday, and then after Wednesday finish the other two before the next Monday. Now the reason why you need to get these completed is that a week from today we're going to reopen this drawing. We're going to reopen, let me show you this guy. We're going to reopen this guy, and I'm going to show you how to dimension it. So that's why you have to have all four of these done, because next week we'll be putting dimensions on all of these. And the week after that, we're going to put dimensions on the guest cottage that you drew last week. So we're going to, it's important that you get these done so that you can keep up with what we're going to be doing next week. Okay. So I think that's everything I need to talk to you about. I'm going to go back to AutoCAD again real quick. Oh, the one thing I did want to mention to you, you know, I was able to pick on the line command and go park my mouse right there, and you see that dotted line that's going across right there. The reason I can see that dotted line is this. You see that polar tracking button that's right down here? It's because I have that turned on. So if you don't have polar tracking turned on, which you should have anyway probably, you're not going to see that line going across. Now the other thing too is just to make sure that, uh-oh, can't find my mouse. There it is. These are your object snaps right here. That's what allows you to snap to an endpoint, for example. When I snap to an endpoint or an endpoint like that, the reason I'm able to do that is because I have this turned on right here, the object snaps. But I'm going to pick on that down arrow next to the object snaps. You should make sure that you turn on endpoint. I think midpoint should be on, center should be on, quadrant needs to be on. That allows you to snap to the quadrants of circles. Intersection, extension, perpendicular needs to be on, tangent needs to be on. These need to be on because you need these to draw these things. You need to be able to snap to tangent or snap to the quadrant. So just remember that to turn those on, not only do you turn on this button right here, which is object snap, but you need to pick on the down arrow next to it. So we want endpoint, midpoint, center, quadrant, intersection, extension, perpendicular, and tangent. If tangent is not on, when you try to draw this line right here, and you do this line and you go from that corner, you see that icon right there? That's tangent. And so it finds the tangency for you. But I'm going to turn tangent off. So now it's turned off. If I do this line from this corner, you see it finds the quadrant. It finds the quadrant up here, but it's not finding a tangency anymore. You have to make sure that you've got tangency turned on. And when you do that, you see that symbol right there? That's the symbol for tangent. Okay. And so I'm not sure if the video reminds you to do that or not, because I don't think I made these videos. I think Ashley made these videos. So, and they're new videos, so I haven't seen them all. She just made them over the summer. We redid a lot of the videos. Okay? So, as I said, the first one is the bracket. I'm going to stay online here until 12:40 today, and you can always email me. And so if you think you've got everything and you're ready to start, what I would recommend is, logging into Blackboard and clicking on Chapter 4, Module 3. And when that opens, go click right here on Bracket. And you're going to open this prototype. And then, as I said, I strongly recommend opening that PDF right there, because that's the Miter Box Help Sheet PDF. Okay? And then watch these videos. They're in YouTube as you make these drawings. I think these drawings are a lot of fun, and so hopefully you'll enjoy, and feel good about it when you get them drawn. Okay. All right. If you have any questions, go ahead and ask, and or you can log off or stick around and ask your questions, whatever you want to do. Okay. So I'll see you on Wednesday morning at 11 if you're signing off. Okay. Bye, guys. Hi. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Did you see the video I sent on that? Yeah. Okay. Well, if you had trouble getting it into paper space, that's why I made that video. So you can watch the video. It's in that email I sent. Okay. Good. All right. Good. You're welcome. Bye, Nicholas.